Podcast. 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 Yeah, welcome to another episode of the Racer X Exhaust Podcast, brought to you by Yoshimura. They've got the all-new RS12 exhaust system making its debut this weekend with Brock Tickle. Brock Tickle will be using the Yoshimura RS12 exhaust system from Yoshimura for the first time because he is back. Ever since finding out at the Minneapolis Supercross in 2018 that he had failed an anti-doping test at the San Diego Supercross in 2018, Tickle is back. A 2-year sentence or suspension or penalty, whatever you want to call it. Look, it's been known for a little while that this JGR deal was probably going to happen. I was at the track 2 weeks ago. It's kind of an odd story how this worked. My old buddy Denny Hartwig, who does PR now for a NASCAR track, Chicagoland Speedway, but used to be the head PR man for Supercross. You might remember I did a podcast with him a year ago. Well, he was in town again, and he said, hey, let's hang out. I'm actually going to go to the JGR track to go see J-Bone, so why don't you come with me? And I said, okay. But I called J-Bone and I said, look, I'm coming to the track to visit. I have a feeling that something might be going on out there I'm not supposed to see, because I had heard these Tickle rumors. But everybody said, yeah, you can come, but, just keep it under your hat for a little while. He's not officially signed. And he wasn't at the time. But Brock was cool. He said I could come back a few days later once he had things where he wanted it with the right gear and logos and everything, and even shoot a video. So I've had a video actually waiting for a while, just hoping that they would get this contract done. There weren't guarantees at the time that all this testing was going to lead to a deal. They had to dot a lot of I's and cross some T's, but it has now happened. So the press release is out. Tickle is with Suzuki and JGR at least through Supercross this year. I don't think they've even thought about beyond that. Ostensibly, he's the replacement for Joey Savacci and Freddie Noren, who should be back, no problem, for Lucas Oil Pro Motocross. So I don't know where Brock goes after this. If he does well, you know how this works. Teams usually find room. So we'll see. Or maybe there'll be a different fill-in ride that Brock can get. But either way, a nice shot in the arm for both the team and for him. I mean, JGR hasn't even raced in the 450 class the last couple of weeks after Noren got hurt and Jimmy D went back down to get ready for 250. So they need it, and he needs it. I had somebody text me when the rumor started getting out that Brock was riding for JGR, and he's like, is this really his best move? Let's be honest, everybody. Can we call a spade? I don't think the Suzuki 450 has the best reputation right now. But look, it is the best move because it's still a factory team. And Brock told me he didn't even have a mechanic yet for his Husky deal in Tampa. So the Husky that he had put together, maybe the bike was good, but there were still a lot of logistics that he was going to have to put together. And now logistics are the last thing that he has to worry about. So now we know how Tickle is getting to the races. So that's a start. The next thing is, how will this be received? And it's very odd because I feel like the fans that follow this hardcore close aren't even thinking about that as a problem. For whatever reason, the riders have gotten a bit of a free pass as far as every rider who has failed an anti-doping test, which could ordinarily be a huge stain on your reputation in most sports. It seems like whatever error the rider made doesn't sound nearly as bad as the error made by the testing folks. And it's not WADA. WADA is just the World Anti-Doping Code that the FIM then conducts the test and informs the athletes if they've passed or failed and figures out the penalties and all that. It's all working under WADA's guidelines. But the fact that it took Tickle over a year to find out how long he was going to be suspended, that was FIM, not WADA. And no one is pumped on the fact that an athlete had to wait over a year to find out how long he would be suspended. So in the eyes of the fans, for the most part, most people are more mad at the rule makers than they are at the riders. So I don't think on the ground floor that anyone is thinking, oh, why would JGR sign this guy? But let's keep in mind, he did get terminated from his KTM deal once his B sample failed. So he is coming off of a team that cut him. And I do think at the very, very top of Suzuki, maybe they're not following this as closely, looking at Instagram comments to see how people feel about it. I do think there was maybe a little bit of dragging of feet, a little bit of cold feet. any kind of non-fetishy feet analogy that you want to make over, is this cool that we're the ones that are signing the guy that had been suspended? Otherwise, it hasn't been a problem. Christian Craig is still around with Geico Honda. He went through a suspension essentially without really serving much of it, and he's still on the team. And James Stewart was with Suzuki and then got suspended and came back. There isn't a huge stigma in this sport. Maybe it would be different if someone was caught with a gnarly, blood doping EPO or steroids. All these guys have had what has been deemed a trace amount of a substance that most of the time people can't even tell what big advantage it gives you. So Brock gets a pass there. I don't think he's going to have to worry about any negativity from the fans this weekend. In fact, he's probably going to have a lot of support. So 2 of the 3 questions are answered. How is he going racing? JGR. How will he be received? Well. Now the most important question of all, how will he do? Now, I've got to be honest. I saw Brock ride a lot of laps at the test track. It didn't blow my wig back with any of them. It wasn't unbelievable. But you have to remember, this is Brock Tickle we're talking about. I don't think unbelievable test track laps are really where he stakes his claim. I've seen Justin Hill ride that track last year for JGR. I saw Justin Barcia ride many, many laps on that track. Those are the kind of guys that can do singular laps that just blow your mind. Hill with his speed, his technique. Barcia with just unbelievable aggression. I swear there was a lap I saw when JGR first switched from Yamaha to Suzuki and Barcia first got on the yellow bike. I swear he did a lap where he never had the front and back tire on the ground at the same time. He was either wheeling or endoing in and out of every corner. So that's not Brock's style. It didn't blow my mind how fast he was going. It was also testing when I was there, and I have to say I've been to some test tracks, but I haven't witnessed many test days. So there's a chance I think riders go out and they're just getting a feel for the bike. They're not doing it for lap time. But even Brock himself has said, look, he did lose some of that race fitness, that race craft, that race intensity because he has not raced, and he's not expecting to set the world on fire. I think when you combine Brock's age and Brock's traditional pattern where he's kind of a slow burn, slow build kind of guy, and the 2 years off, it's going to be a while, I think, before we see what he's really capable of. I don't expect him to come out and blow anyone's minds at Tampa, but I do know the fans are going to be pumped, and at least JGR should have a 450 Suzuki back in the main, which they haven't even done the last couple of weeks. So that's a Tickle situation. It's just a feel-good story. Like I said, the way this has broken in this sport, the fans tend to be on the sides of the athletes that get suspended. And Brock's kind of at the tip of that spear. He probably had the most fans on his side because I think he probably had the worst case scenario. He went so long without his case being resolved. Craig, they actually took a little time off of his original penalty because they muffed up the case so badly. And Stewart wasn't 2 months. I think it was 16 months. So not quite as long. Cade Clayson's deal was even weirder. At least Cade's case, it was a TUE that he thought he had filled out, and he did not, kind of like Stu. So it's a little more maybe on the athlete there. But with Tickle, everybody just kind of feels bad. So that means they're going to feel good that he's back. A little bit more Supercross news before we get to this week's interview subject. Cooper Webb, back. You really should go to YouTube and watch a couple of things. First, look at the Tickle video that I put together. I'm really proud of it. I put together a Tickle video. I mean, I literally took a video camera. I shot it. I edited it. I interviewed him. I had a separate microphone for audio, not connected to the camera, so I had backup audio. I slid audio under the video. First full riding action video I've done. You'll see it on the RacerX site with Brock. You can search for it on YouTube, the RacerX Illustrated YouTube channel. Like, subscribe. Put in the comments that the videographer is better than Wes Williams and anyone else in the industry. I'm really proud. It's a lot of work to put these together, but I was happy to have learned the craft to a degree. Second video you want to watch, of course, watch The Weed Show on YouTube. That's my pre- and post-race shows, the walk and talk with the GoPro. I kind of got lucky. I had compared Cooper Webb's charge for second place at the Oakland Supercross. Maybe I had overstated just how important that race was. Cooper, I thought, saved his championship hopes by catching Ken Roczen in the final lap at Oakland, and I knew that was really sticking my neck out there because for 95% of the main event in Oakland, Roczen and Tomac were just better than him, and there was a chance that they were going to be better than him again at the next race in San Diego, and I was going to look like a fool for building up a mere second-place finish for last year's champ. I even compared it to a gritty Kobe Bryant-like performance. But Cooper did go out and San Diego and prove himself again. He wins the main event now. So he has 2-1 finishes in the last two. The Achilles heel for Webb, I don't remember in the Yamaha days if he was exceptionally bad in the whoops. I think maybe he was. We just didn't notice because he wasn't great anywhere else on the track either. But the whoops have really stuck out here in his season and a few more with KTM. And he had it fixed for San Diego. He looked really fast in the whoops in practice. Go look at the highlights of San Diego and watch the clips from the first lap, the second set of whoops, which were the tougher set. He blitzes the whoops so fast on the first lap, he almost makes a passer on the outside of the sand turn on Adam Cianciarulo. Of course, it was the jumping of the whoops that eventually came into play and won the race for Cooper like it has so many times last year. But he did show that it's not just lip service, it's not just talk, that he's better at skimming whoops now. They've got something figured out. So look at all the things that are trending now. Cooper has 2-1 finishes. Cooper has all kinds of momentum and confidence, and he's cut the points lead down to 9, and now we're going to Eastern tracks. Everyone says they like the Eastern tracks better, so I don't want to say it's going to be an advantage for him, but he's definitely not going to be served worse being on the East. All the riders seem to talk about liking soft, tackier tracks, which is crazy because that often means they're rutted. I will say that his whoop jumping skills, if anything, are going to be an even bigger advantage. So it's just kind of going Webb's direction right now. It was not that way with 3 laps to go in Oakland. I thought it was looking dire. And he also reinforced my Kobe Bryant thing by saying Mamba mentality on the podium. That kind of never give up spirit. So now I feel doubly good. I really was afraid that I'd become the Cooper Webb fluffer, the Cooper Webb cheerleader. But I just try to tell you what I'm seeing, and things are trending in his direction. Also, a spectacular ride, I feel, for Adam Cianciarulo. That was great. He didn't win the race. But look, we've been qualifying Adam's season. All this hype coming in for Adam, his fast qualifying times. I feel like myself and Mathis and JT have said many times, yes, but he is a rookie, and you just have to account for that, and you're seeing it. He has all the tools, but putting it together for 21 minutes, the more experienced riders have an edge on him there. This was the best he has done at managing an entire main event. It's the closest he's come to winning one. These are huge lessons. We were joking around, Kellen Brower, our new guy at Racer X, we were joking yesterday about they said last year that Osborne is the non-traditional rookie and Cianciarulo is the non-traditional rookie just because they've been through more ups and downs than most rookies. I feel like what we've learned now is it doesn't matter if you're a traditional rookie or a non-traditional rookie. If you're a rookie, you're a rookie. And managing 21-minute main events and the tracks being so hammered and bikes being so much more sensitive to changes, there's just no way around it but experience. And even as fast and capable and confident and good as Adam is, he's on one of, if not the best teams in the business. You just can't erase the time that Webb has on him. This is Webb's 4th year in the 450 class. Otherwise, Cianciarulo, that's an A+, except he didn't win the race, I think. And awesome for Baggett to get 3rd. And a little shake-up there. I think it was critical for Justin Barcia to show that he could hang with Tomac and Roczen because he hasn't done it the last few races, but he's been saying that he feels like he can do it. He hasn't started well. He didn't start well in this one, but at least he was back with Tomac and Roczen, and he beat one of them, and he stayed close to Tomac the majority of the race. As far as their mega gnarly battle, that's just Barcia being Barcia. That's the way it's always going to go with him. He had a mega gnarly dust-up about halfway through that main event with Tomac. But they weren't a complete step ahead of him speed-wise. That's what Barcia has been saying would be the case, and I feel like he backed it up a bit in San Diego. So only a 5th for Barcia, but I think that's critical to show that he might have more staying power in this championship than he has in previous years. As for Roczen, 6th, that's his worst since the opener. We'll see if that means anything. You don't want to take a guy that doesn't get a great start and read too much into the finish. Yes, we've seen hero rides, but you can't guarantee the guys can do that every single time. Sometimes the races are just start dependent. It might have been for Roczen, so I'm not going to make any bold claims that this is a panic button or emergency for him. But what is awesome is the fact that we're going to round 7, and I feel like we're almost questioning more things and unsure of more things than we were a few weeks ago. This series is getting more intriguing as it goes instead of less. That's the best news of all. Okay, RacerXOnline.com/subscribe. That's how you subscribe to the magazine. We've got a couple of great offers. I had the interview with our coffee guy, Ross D'Antonio, last week. Get yourself bag of Evil Coffee if you subscribe to the mag now. And more importantly, just be like an enthusiast of the sport. Send us $25. You get the magazine. You can read it also digitally on your phone. It looks great. And just be that much more informed than any other fan who says, I get all my stuff on the internet. Because everything we put in the magazine isn't on the internet. And I'm proud of the work that we put into that. So that's one more plug. Now, on to this week's guest, Kailub Russell. Okay, qualifier. If you are living on the West Coast, you might say, what? Those woods racers. I don't know anything about it. I don't care. I'm not interested. I get it, man. Way back in the day, I had the pleasure of going to a test day with, at that time, the king of the GNCCs, Juha Salminen. That was a Finnish rider who KTM imported to the United States, and he dominated. I mean, borderline Ricky Carmichael level domination. Borderline Jeremy McGrath level domination. Juha was unreal. So I went to Glen Helen with him and his mechanic at the time, Antti Kalonen. Antti is now the team manager for KTM Off-Road. They roll a factory box van up to the track. They roll a factory KTM out with a number 1 plate, and nobody at Glen Helen knew who this guy was. And I was watching, and people were asking, and I would say who he was, and even when I explained it, they still didn't know who it was. So I get it, man. GNCC does not play in California. They just don't care. They just don't understand. It's a totally different world, East and West off-road. But here's why this interview is interesting regardless. Kailub Russell has won the last 7 GNCC championships, and he has now announced he will race 2020, and then he will be done competing for championships. He's going to try to win 8. That would be great. And then he's going to, as you'll hear in this, probably do some more racing and other series, but he's not going for full-time titles anymore after this. So that was a bit of a bombshell. I think KTM announced it about 2 weeks ago when they announced their off-road lineup for 2020. But I wasn't as shocked as you would think, because I've seen this before. I've seen this with Ryan Villopoto especially. I saw it to a lesser degree with Ryan Dungey. Even if you're not interested in GNCC per se, you should be interested in this story, because I like GNCC because when I talk to the riders, when I see how hard they work, I can tell you that their goals, their effort, their training, their commitment is the same. The paychecks might not be the same as Supercross and Motocross, but the bottom line is they're full-time factory riders, and their entire life is built around winning. So the pressure and the expectations are the same. So here you can get some good insight into things that affect all athletes at the top of their game, whether it be GNCC or anything else. And it is this simple. When you win so much more than you lose, losing becomes very, very difficult to face. And Kailub is notoriously rough on himself when he doesn't win races. I mean, straight up, super pissed anger. I think he's managing it better now than he did 3 or 4 years ago. But he's just ultra competitive, which is what you want in an athlete, right? But I could just sense that with 7 championships, this is exactly what Villopoto got to. People were mad at Villopoto in 2014 because he was seemingly more angry each week while he was winning races and scoring points and winning another Supercross championship. Why wasn't he happy? Because when you win that many in a row, you have a larger fear of losing than you have joy of winning. And I had a feeling that was a factor in Kailub Russell deciding that he was not going to pursue this championship anymore. One other piece of proof that I have, when Ricky Carmichael decided to retire, he still knew he could win races. He still liked the process of training and riding. The thing he wanted to get away from was the pressure of having to win championships, of not being able to ever have a single bad race without the world freaking out and saying, what's wrong? So in Carmichael's last season, he raced half the rounds. He declared himself essentially championship ineligible. So that's a lesson right there. The pressure of having to win a championship and not being able to lose one because people will go insane and say, oh my gosh, how did this happen? It really saps the enthusiasm for these guys. So I wanted to see if that was the case with Kailub. He's really a good interview. So I called him up, and here's his take. Here's Kailub Russell. Well, I got to start with the number one thing here. It's kind of a bombshell. Like you were saying, this is your last, I don't know how to say it, full-time season. I don't know if you're saying retiring, but you're at least changing something. That is pretty massive, dude. Where did this come from?
Yeah, it is pretty massive now when you put it in that aspect. It's my 10th year in the class in GNCC, and it's tough on you. It's just because it's my 10th year doesn't mean I've only been doing it for 10 years. I've been doing it for since the 3-hour thing since 2006. So
yeah.
But no, I've been racing at it a long time. I'm getting beat up, and at this point in my career, like, never expected to take it as far as I have here. I was hopeful to win a championship and be a guy that could win races and make a living doing it, racing off road, but never to get to this elite status and the have the impact that I've had on the sport. So for me, it's now after you win so much and your perspectives start changing, and the way you envision seeing yourself leave the sport, at least for me, it's changed. So I work really hard to stay on top, and I'm not getting any younger. I turned 30 here in a few short days. So it's just right timing, I guess. I'm still very capable, and I'll probably still be very capable for another couple of years, but I've started mitigating risks and taking fewer chances, like during the week and like even at the races sometimes. Just and it's not where I want to be. I want to make sure I always leave everything I got on the track and continue to be a champion. And I feel like it's my door's closing, so I want to take the Ricky Carmichael approach and try to go out on top.
There's a couple angles to go with here, and the first thing obviously is the workload. I'm sure is super high, and we'll get to that. But how much different is it? Look, you've won 7 titles in a row, and I've seen guys when they win a lot of titles. I saw Villopoto go through this. I saw Dungey go through this. Essentially, the only thing that's going to happen one day is you're going to lose the title. You can keep winning more, but once you've won a couple, one more is nice. But eventually, you're going to lose. Is the pressure of, dude, I can't do this for 14 in a row. I can't do this 12 in a row. I can't do this 10 in a row. How much is the pressure a factor as opposed to just a straight up workload physically?
Yeah, it is. That's a huge benefactor too, and that's what people don't get. They're like, oh, it's they're like, I've read some comments like, oh, racing beats the hell out of doing something else, because obviously I'm still going to work after this, and I've got some things in the works, but yeah, it's the pressure is astronomical at this point. And not necessarily from the team or anybody. I've proven and I've got nothing left to prove. But when I don't win a race and I do get beat, it's racing. That's going to happen. But it's like the end of the world. Like it's like, oh, well, what happened to Kailub? Like, why didn't he win this weekend? Like, and it's just like, man, like I can't lose a freaking race. I'm like,
yeah.
But it is. It's the pressure is there, and it builds up. And I've done it to myself, but it's a good problem to have, and I've always embraced it, and I think I've handled it really well. That's why I've been able to continue so long, winning and keeping a level head. But it's like I said, my biggest thing is like I've just noticed myself mitigating risks and taking fewer chances when I need to, and I think injuries, the last couple of years, like I've dinged myself up pretty good, and I've ridden injured and been riding injured, not knowing I was injured, and it's just kind of all compounding on itself. And I've had this shoulder injury. I had shoulder surgery before 2018, and it's still like a lingering problem, and it's been a year and a half. So, my body just isn't what it once was. And like I said, I still got a couple of good years in me, and I'm still going to be really good this year, bearing any major injuries or setbacks. But it's just, I've had a good run, and I'm happy, and I'm content with where I'm at.
Fred Bramblett, who used to be the agent for Scott Summers and a lot of guys, he told me when Villopoto was, we could tell something was up with Villopoto. Like his 4th season, he was winning races, and he was the most miserable guy at the race. And I remember Fred sent me an email, and he's like, you can start to see when it's more of a relief to not lose than it is a joy of actually winning. Like you're just like, thank God I didn't get beat. Thank God. How'd you get into that point in a way? Like when you click off another title, are you like, all right, thank God that worked out, as opposed to, yes, I did it? Does it feel a little like that?
I would have to agree in a way. Even though that I've won the last couple of years pretty easily, Thad's been a big challenger. But in 2017 I had a really a great start to the year. I was having one of my best seasons yet, and then it just snowballed the wrong direction in the middle of the year, and there's a bunch of drama and a bunch of stuff that kind of ensued. And after that year, like, I got through it, like, in the last few races, I finally got it together and pulled it off, and it was that exact feeling. Like, it wasn't a feeling of enjoyment, satisfaction. It was a feeling of just, thank God it's over, and thank God, like, it's that I didn't lose. Like,
yeah.
It wasn't like a celebratory year for me, and then the way I won the championship this year was kind of anticlimactic too. The way I won it, I DNF'd the race that I won, I clinched the championship at, and I actually had a big practice crash the week before and hurt myself, and then Thad ended up doing the same thing and hurting his knee, and he didn't race. So it kind of ended in somewhat of the same mindset as 2017. Like, I'm just glad that I didn't lose, like, because it could have been very easily the other way around. If Thad wouldn't have hurt himself, like, I was coming in pretty beat up and pretty weak, and like I said, I didn't even race the last round. I played it cool and healed up for the ISD coming up in like 2 weeks after that. So for the very next week, we had to leave to go to Portugal.
Yeah, so if that hadn't gotten hurt, you would have been in the situation where you were not feeling it. You were definitely hurt, and you were going to have to go out there and go balls to the wall, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. Because I had a good points lead. I had over a race lead. I had close to 50 points, but there's still 2 races left, and I was bound to lose a handful, and at the second to last race, and then probably more again at the last one. And then if I crash or something were to happen, like, it was the week before, like, before the race and before I even knew if Thad got hurt, like, I was stressing because I was, like I said, I hit my shoulder pretty good, and I was pretty deterred at the time. It was a pretty good one, but luckily, like, nothing structural happened to it, but it's just a built up injury. Like I said, it's the shoulder that I had surgery on. Like, everything's structurally good, but I came back from the surgery so fast to start riding to get ready for the next season that I got a lot of other issues going on in there, and they flare up really easily, and it's becoming quite the headache here and there. Like, there's a lot of therapy and stuff that I did to get it back to normal, and I even went and got an MRI in April of last year, like 6 months after it happened, because I thought I'd re-tore it and messed it up. Like, it hurt worse after the surgery and when it was healing and supposed to be good and strong than it actually did when it was torn, and I hadn't had surgery yet, and I was still racing on it. So
Jeez.
It was a headache for sure, and like I said, I'm still dealing with it, and when I do hit it, like, it's not good.
Yeah, and I would assume that's inevitable. You're going to hit it.
Yeah, it's a matter of time. It's shoulder check trees all day long. So,
dude, yeah, that part. I don't know how you feel. I feel just watching these shows that the almost full moto pace that you and Thad are running at times, it just seems so sketch. And then I went to lunch with our buddy Travis Beamden, and he's like, dude, everybody has stories of watching Kailub take some huge either almost crash or huge crash, and they just get up. They just get up and they just keep on battling. Not everybody sees it because you guys aren't out there in front of a crowd. But, dude, you guys are taking such huge risks, and I've got to imagine sometimes actually crashing. Maybe we don't have it on a GoPro or highlight footage. But, dude, it's got to be getting scary how fast you guys are going these days.
Yeah, I'm not sure. We're going fast, but we're just, we're able to sustain it for longer periods of time. So you're putting yourself more at risk to go down, and then especially late in the race when we really start going at it and we're tired, we can barely hang on, and you're just kind of like in this. I like to call it like the blackout mode. Your mind kind of goes blank. Your brain's not really functioning. You're just hitting everything and reacting to muscle memory and letting the bike like float underneath of you, but you're hanging it out. Like you're not really processing a whole lot. It doesn't seem like it anyways, because you're suffering so much. Like you're trying not to like think about anything. You're just a blank stare and reacting.
Wow.
So it's super easy to like let it get away from you, like just hit a root or connect with a lapper or guy kind of come out of nowhere and like sideswipe you. But there's a lot of different variables in off-road and a lot of different factors. But yeah, it's definitely, like I said, I don't think the speeds are any higher than they were. So, 5-6 years ago, but I think we're just sustaining them for longer. So that's the thing. We're creating more risks longer for a longer period of time throughout the race. So we do definitely have some crashes out in the woods, and like I said, a lot of stuff's unavoidable, and there's so many variables out there, and the track changes so much, and it's so rough. Like it's unexplainably rough at some races, and it's really easy to, like I said, lose that focus or just hit something wrong and catch your edge and just lawn dart into the woods. So,
you've actually found yourself. Did you say you found yourself mitigating the risk here or there? Maybe thinking about things where you weren't thinking about them before. Is that starting to happen?
Yeah. It's strange. Like it's maybe not so much when I'm racing. I do notice like but it's mainly during the week. Like I think about things more like, just like I don't practice in the woods very much anymore because like I said, there's so many more variables. Like I almost find it safer for myself to like practice on a motocross track just because, if you do get squirrely and you go off the track, like you're not going to hit anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's always that chance of crashing, but like when you crash in the woods, like for me to ride in the woods to get anything out of it because I'm comfortable, like I got to go really fast, and going that fast and exerting, or just trying to mimic like a race pace in the woods, like practicing and you're not fully focused, like it's dangerous.
Yep.
And I think it's more dangerous for me than, riding a motocross track where I'm not as comfortable, but it's still riding a motorcycle, and it's a little bit easier to stay in the zone and get the workout you need as far as being bike fit. And obviously, like riding moto is no joke. I've been doing it for a few years now without it, and it's really helped me, and it's made me more, I feel like, precise in the woods. But I still got that skill in the woods, so it's not like I'm going to lose it and I need to practice in the woods every day. But when I do ride in the woods, it's typically within a comfort level that I'm not going to hit something wrong and smash my hand or shoulder check a tree. But like I said, it happens, and when it does, like it hurts really bad, and it gets out of control pretty quick. So that's how I've kind of been mitigating risk is during the week and not training the way I probably should or need to be on the bike. So
so we hear the pressure thing's a factor, and the risk thing is a factor, or the injuries building up and all that stuff. You're working with Alden the last couple of years, and the first thing everyone always says is, "Oh, dude, his program's too gnarly." Is that anything to, and you're not as maybe on his program as, say, Zacho or Cooper are, but you're kind of on it. Is that anything to do with it? Like, dude, this workload's too much? Because for some reason, that's the first thing everyone goes to. I haven't found many riders to back that up, but that's what it sounds like always from the outside, is the training stuff wearing you down.
Yeah, no, I enjoy the training. I've found like I said, the hard part for me is to get motivated to get on the bike and knowing what I'm going to do on the bike. Like I said, it's becoming, it's a risk I'm like lessening all the time.
Right.
Like I dread getting on the motorcycle some days. Like I'm just like, I'm not feeling it. Like I can't get focused. Like I'm not going to get anything out of it. Like I've got like zero motivation to go ride in the woods.
Yeah.
And, but as far as like Alden's program and those guys, I don't think that the workload is too much. Like Alden's a smart guy, and he's got it, down to a science, and, he knows what each guy's body's capable of and where he needs to be at throughout the week, and, watches their, monitors their heart rate through everything they do. So they're not overworking themselves at all, at least when I've been there. Like I said, the hardest thing you do when you're there is the riding is the hardest part, by far. It's so hot in Florida in the summer.
Yep.
But everything else is, pretty minimal, really. I mean, it's just a structured program where it's every day. And I think it's the grind of not having the freedom to do anything is what gets the guys.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like scared to, live a little bit out, and like kind of breeds this, eat, sleep, train mentality into you. And you don't have a lot of freedom for sure. And I think maybe that's what gets to them, but it's not really the workload, because it's, like I said, you do a lot, but it's not over the top, like you just beat every day. Like there's certain days that are harder than others, especially when those guys do 230s in the middle of the summer. But, the bike rides are never over an hour and a half in the summer. And, it's like I said, it's structured, and you do something every day. And I think it's the grind of their schedule that gets to them as well too, because they just don't have the freedom to, go hang out or go do something else that they'd rather do, instead of, they get done with a day at 3:00 and they sit on the couch the rest of the day and wake up and eat breakfast and do it all over again.
Yeah.
Come home, sit on the couch at 3:00 and you're done for the day. So it's like, it's pretty boring, really.
Right.
Like it sounds awesome and all this, that you're riding a dirt bike, but it's suffering, and then you sit at home bored the rest of the day. But
Yeah. There's no mixing it up. It's pretty much the same thing all the time. Just a little bit of a mix up, but yeah.
Yeah, it gets stale, but it's definitely not the workload. It's just the process and the But it's hard to make training fun, and but those guys do have a good time, and they're all characters, and it's fun hanging out with them. But like I said, it's just the lack of freedom and the capability to do anything else other than eat, sleep, and train. So, and just with their schedule, they the 17 Supercross races, then the outdoors straight afterwards. It's beats them down, and they're scared to do anything other than ride and train during the week, because they don't want to be tired for the next day or be tired for the weekend. So
if you go play golf at 4:00, that's why you won't do it, because the next morning you'll probably really be dead.
Yeah, I mean it's one of those things. Like it's like I said, it's so hot in Florida in the summer, anyways, that they don't want to. Yeah, we might go play golf. Like if we only cycle for the day, like me and Zach will go out and play 9 holes, but he won't ever play 18 because he's scared to be tired for the next day. But it's no, it's all good though. I understand and I get it, but off road's a little bit different. But like I said, our schedule is a lot more lenient. Where we've got weeks off in between races, and the travel's a lot less and not so hectic and stressful on your body.
You told me something interesting. I think it was at the Florida race maybe a year ago, or maybe it was 2 years ago, and you've worked with some different trainers. You've done all kinds of training stuff through the years, and everybody's got the same basic formula of, riding a dirt bike and riding a bicycle and doing some gym work. But you said there's just something magical about like the numbers and the ratio that Alden has in his head that just seems to get better results. He's not doing something crazy different than everybody else, but for some reason, what he asks you to do ends up being more effective. I remember you said that. That's really odd. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember how I've explained it that way to a few people, but it's just whatever his formula is, and however he goes about it. Just the amount of time you spend in the red zone and during the weeks, he's got it all calculated up, and
right.
I don't know the methods to his madness, but he knows what he's doing, and he's got a proven track record, and I can speak from experience of being there and being on his program, and we try to mimic that, and it's tough, but I work with Charlie in the wintertime, and he's down here at my place now, but I think it has to do something with the humidity and the heat in Florida too, that helps elevate you to that level that those guys get at in the summertime. It's almost like elevation training, but it's Alden's definitely got something special, and he knows what he's doing, and I've always enjoyed working with him and riding with those guys down there. It's been a blast, and like I said, thinking back, when I won my first championship, and or my first few, and watching Villopoto be dominant, I never would have dreamed or thought I would have been working with Alden Baker one day.
Yeah.
7 years ago, I was like, I remember thinking like, oh, he's like such a badass, and like he'd be so tough and this and that, and here 6 years later, I'm working with them and riding with those guys. It's racing's opened a lot of doors for me, and so Alden's helped open a lot of those doors for me as well. So I'm grateful for the opportunity from KTM to go down there and from Alden.
I don't know how much you look at it this way. Maybe you're just doing your own thing. But how much do you think you working there and becoming friends with Zacho, when you race that national Unadilla, like Roxon's like, hey, what's up, buddy? Like every single guy on the line knows you, every top moto guy. How do you think that reflects on off-road? Like, I feel it's increased the respect for it. I don't know if you ever thought of it that way, and maybe you're just doing your deal, but it has to have been a boost, like, almost internally in the industry, I would think, for off-road, for you to be in that mix.
I think after Unadilla, it kind of finally, maybe it sunk in a little bit, like, maybe the importance or the impact that I've had, like, on the off-road community in general, and the amount of attention that I've actually have brought to GNCC and off-road as a whole for the U.S.
Yep.
Because up until that, I was just doing my deal and, hoping to be pretty good. And, I've been friends with Kenny for a few years, and, a lot of the top guys, like I've ridden with them or hung out with them, they're all sort of my age or right there around me. So, I've been around the sport long enough to where we've all came in contact at some point or another. And, I've always been pretty, maybe it's because I don't race with them all the time, or I'm just hang out and I'm a pretty decent guy. And,
but yeah, you're no threat. You're not racing against them for money.
Yeah. I'm kind of like the friend of all of them.
Right.
In a way, like I'm no threat to them, and, they can be themselves around me too. So it's, it's been pretty good. Like I've got to know Marvin and Cooper and Kenny and, Phil and Marshall Welton, like just so many guys. And, but yeah, I think, after doing the Unadilla race and as well as I did, doing as well as I did, it definitely, gave off-road a little bit more respect and brought some more light to it that I feel like, if I wouldn't have done it, for sure.
Yeah, but I know that I had always heard, like, say, at the KTM dealer show that back in the day, they would announce, hey, we have our off-road guys here, and we win this, and we win that. And, like, the Supercross, Motocross guys half the time would be like, really? Wow, we didn't know our off-road guys were that good, because they had no clue. They didn't know them. Yeah. They didn't follow the races. I feel like you're internally with these dudes now, so it probably just heightens their respect and even just the amount of attention they're paying. Just because they're buddies with you, and it leads to them probably paying more attention to the whole series in general.
Yeah, I mean, I've never really broken it down, like I said, and thought about it like that. Like for the most part, where I'm just,
you're just doing your deal. Yeah,
I'm just doing my deal, and I like hanging out with like-minded people, and we all like to have the same kind of common interest in a way, and we all usually end up getting along and like to party. So
there you go.
We all kind of mesh together in a way, and it seems to, I don't know, it's weird, but it's kind of cool to look back and especially during the race. Like I remember I was at Kenny's house a couple days after Unadilla, and he's like, man, we had a heck of a battle going on that second moto. And I was sitting there thinking, I was like, man, Ken Roxon just complimented on me on like having a battle with him. I was like, even though we were like 7th and 8th or at the time, but I was like, man, that's pretty cool. I was like, past Ken Roxon. So
yeah, that is that. Yeah, I tell you that 10 years earlier, right? That's gonna happen.
Exactly.
All right. So the obvious question here is: what do you know what you're doing next? Like, I don't think you're saying you're fully like, I'm parking the motorcycle in October and I'm never riding again. Like, do you know what you're going to do next? Are you going to ride some GNCCs? Are you going to ride other stuff? Do you know what you're doing next?
Yeah, we've got a little bit of a plan. We still got a lot to kind of go over and kind of nail down. But I want to, there's a lot of events that I would like to go do and that I haven't been able to do just because my main focus has always been GNCC, and I don't want any distractions or go anywhere else and run the risk of getting hurt.
Yeah.
But the motocross thing was pretty high profile event that I couldn't pass up the opportunity. So of course I'm gonna jump all over it the second I get the chance to do it. So that's kind of a one-off thing. But there's a lot of other off-road events that I would like to do and like to try to do. But I think that's more along the lines of what I'm going to do in 21. I'm not going to be done racing full time, just cold turkey like last year. That's not happening. But I wanted to be my last year in GNCC and my last full focus on this championship because that's GNCC is what I am known for, and I want to, like I said, I want to try to go out on top and put all my focus towards that. And I still want to race afterwards, but I just don't want to have that pressure and stress of having to win and being the guy to win. I want to, ride for, another year and still put a lot of emphasis on 6 days. It's a goal that I have to try to win the overall and win another world trophy title as a team too. So I want to, do that in 21 and still stay relevant and racing different events and, it'd still be good for the brand and be able to get more exposure, throughout the country and maybe throughout the world doing different events that I would never be able to with the GNCC schedule. So I just want to kind of wind it down and then I've got some other things in the future that I'm kind of working on now and gaining a little bit of momentum to do that and still be involved with KTM and the off-road team.
Yeah, so you know what? When Villopoto retired, essentially, everybody's like, dude, you're never going to see this guy on a motorcycle again. He hates training. He hates dirt bikes. He hates everything. And then 2 years later, it's as soon as he's back on the scene and just doing stuff for fun and there's no longer points on the line, he's the happiest dude ever. So yeah, it's you strip that pressure away and it's a whole different experience. It's not the motorcycle that sucks. It's I have to win on this motorcycle or people are going to wonder what's up. So you're going to, I guess, get rid of that in 2021.
Yeah, kind of in a way, not all the way, but in a way. The main thing to me, I am for sure 100% trying to get away and trying to get rid of the stress and I don't want to say headache. I mean, it's like I said, I've put myself in this position. I have to embrace it.
Yeah.
And I do, but I'm not naive and I want to think I'm not naive and I know when, enough's enough. And I've had a great run. It's unreal, unbelievable. And I never would have expected this. I'd probably still race until I couldn't if I never would have won, if I only would have won 1 or 2 championships. But the way it's gone and how everything is, I feel like it's the only way to do it now. So that's what I want to do, but like I said, I still want to race and be relevant afterwards. And like I said, there's still a few more goals that I have, and I want to, be able to focus 100% on those and try to check that off the box and, move on with life and start the next chapter.
So there's a couple guys coming up, and they're on KTMs. You had Toth as your teammate starting in the big class in 2019, and now Ben Kelly's coming in with a ton of hype. Where are you at with those guys? Is it these guys are a threat, or are you actually trying to be an ambassador and help them? How is your relationship with your young up-and-coming teammates?
I would say it's really good, to be honest with you. I'm, a few years ago, it probably wouldn't have been so good. I would be a recluse, and I wouldn't.
You're admitting this. I like this. You admit it.
I'd be down here in Florida by myself, maybe 1 or 2 guys with me, but I've got 15 people here riding at my place right now. It's I'm an open book. So, and Ben's down here. Josh was here. He unfortunately just had another injury, but there's Lane Michaels here and a bunch of XE2 guys, and I've invited. I've signed kids up to come train alongside of us, and actually takes to do this at a professional level and get their feet wet and understand how we do what we do. So it's not typically what I would do. 5 years ago, I would have been, like I said, been by myself, and the door would have been locked shut. But it's a different day and age, and Ben's a good kid, and I really like Ben, and he's gonna be really good in the next few years. He's gonna be really good this year. I think he's definitely gonna surprise a lot of people, and maybe, I'm hoping to retain that number 1 plate, but I'm thinking he might be a little bit tougher to beat than Thad this coming year. So it's going to be an interesting year for sure, with me, him, and Thad, and Stu, and Trevor Bollinger, and there's a few guys that are capable of winning and that are hungry and really want to do it, and that's why I kind of came out and openly said this is my last year, so come and get it. But I'm that type of person. Like I said, I like the pressure. I like to deal with the pressure, and I don't want to just up and win and say peace, see you later. I want to let these guys know, like, this is your last shot. Come and get it.
I don't know if you know this, but I remember on the quad days, like Bill Balance won, I think 9 titles in a row. And he said over and over, his biggest regret was the guy he had to dethrone was our buddy Barry Hawk. And he said Barry just at the end of, Barry won like say 7 in a row. And then at the end of the year, Barry's like, yep, I'm parking the quad. I'm racing bikes from now on. And Bill always said, he's like, I wish I had known that I only had one more shot at the guy, because I wanted to beat him. And I was like, oh, eventually maybe I'll get there. But I wish I had known I only had that one last year. So that's what you're kind of doing. You're letting these guys know if they want to take it from you, they're going to have to do it this time. You put that out there. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's I guess it's a bad marketing strategy in a way, but it's, it's I don't know, it's just a part of me and who I am and what I want to represent is, being the guy that with the target on my back. I've had it on my back for the past 6 years now, and it's, it's nothing new. It's just, it's not any added weight. It's just it's another year, and it's another opportunity.
There was a time in this series where the Euro guys would come in, and they really did well for a while with U.S. Salmon and David Knight. That hasn't happened in a while. No one's brought in some crazy ringer, unless I'm forgetting, to try to we'll bring some dude from Europe, and maybe he could be Kailub. But I don't know. Has it become so specialized? I mean, obviously you guys do way better at ISTE than you used to, but there's still good, fast Euros. Is that even like a thing that anyone could do anymore, or is it so specialized where it wouldn't even work? Because for whatever reason, it hasn't been even tried in a while, as far as I can remember.
Yeah, it hasn't. It hasn't been tried because obviously KTM's got a different marketing strategy, and they want to keep their riders in Europe that are in Europe, and the riders bring up their own guys in the U.S. is their ultimate goal.
Yeah,
and how they want to keep it. So that's one of the reasons. But yeah, it's definitely a lot more specialized now. Juha and David, they changed the way the series is, raced at a professional standpoint, and the way guys train and the way guys, attack the track and race the course. So they for sure kind of changed the game, and it keeps being elevated and become more specialized. And it's so hard now for just anybody that's never raced a 3-hour race, like. To just come and try to do a year or a couple of races and expect to do well, and at least to win or be a podium guy, it's almost an impossible task to ask anymore. We built up this immunity to knowing this zone that we're going to go into, and being able to go in, like I said, that blackout mode, and that's why there's That's why there's only one guy that wins at the end of the race. It's the guy that can suffer the most in GNCC, and I've been lucky to be that guy for the most part. So,
dude, if you're talking about blackout zone and that's got to be part of a factor of not wanting to do this anymore either, right? Like that's a hell of a thing to just put yourself through physically, mentally, emotionally. I don't know if you want to do that 100 more times in your life. Go to that ghost out-of-body experience athletic level. That's got to be hard to summon that up over and over and over.
Yeah, it's not fun. I mean, people, I mean, I make racing sound terrible right now, but I've done it for so long. Like, it really isn't fun. You get into that mode, and which races are going to be really hard physically, and which ones you're going to be able to, oh, that was pretty fun. That wasn't so bad. But the ones where it's not, you get to the end of the race and you're like, why am I out here? Like, what am I doing? Like, you can't not think about it at, like, the last lap or the last, like, mile. Even if I'm winning, like, there's sometimes, like, when I can remember, having tough races when I was winning by a minute. And I'm like, why am I doing this to myself? Like, this is miserable. But, it's we're a special breed of people, I guess, but we just keep coming back. We can't get enough. And it's, yeah, there's so many variables and reasons why I'm kind of trying to take the route I'm doing, and it's not to name all of them, but it's just this built up culmination of having a great career and being satisfied for the most part, and where I'm at, and it's like I said, that's pretty much the gist of it, and all the other stuff is. Getting rid of all the other stuff in a way, the stress and the pressure and the blackout. And, that's just an added bonus to be kind of ditching that. It's I know it's gonna be a culture shock, when the checks stop rolling in. But like I said, I've had a good career, made a lot of money doing this, and probably made more money doing this than I ever imagined as well. So it's I'll figure it out, and we're gonna be okay. It's not the end of the world.
I hadn't actually thought of it. Yeah, you'll like still be a KTM guy. You have this like mega long deal, but the income is probably going to change when you're not title guy anymore.
Yeah, it's
the ambassador role or the showing up here and there money isn't as good.
Yeah, it's probably going to dwindle away pretty quick, but it's like in life, everything changes, and I could sit here and be worried about my future, but I'm pretty like it's scary. I'm like in a stress-free zone right now. Like I almost have no pressure on me right now. I feel like, in a way, it's kind of weird. Like, I'm still working really hard and motivated for it, but I think just knowing, and I've already got it off my chest, that's like I'm in a zone where it's stress-free, and it's really weird. Like, I feel like I'm in a really good spot right now, and I'm motivated, and I'm still hungry, and I feel good. I feel healthy, and I'm ready to go.
Well, here's something that I would think about. I've always heard riders say the problem with being an athlete is you never know when you've officially like done it. Like, even if you win one race, well, I guess I need to win the next. Or if I win one title, I guess I need to win the next. There's never an official like, yes, I did it. It's over. But you actually almost have that in sight now. Like, if you just win the title one more time, you can actually just say, yes, I did it. I'm done. I accomplished the goal. The goal isn't 9, it's just 8. It's got to be a change.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe it is because the goal, that there's almost an ending in sight where as in life, like there's not the only ending in sight is death, and you're scared to hell you're scared to hell you're scared to death of death. But
that's right.
It's not something you want to see. So it's we just go through life going through the motions, and it's this grind and this pressure that gets this culmination of things that builds up because there is never any end. So maybe that's the relief I was looking for, but I don't know. It's like I said, like I feel really good right now, and I'm happy and I'm having fun and at the moment, and it's all systems are go. And like I said, I got all these people down here, and we're pounding motos together daily, and probably with next to my, main competition for the year, I'd say.
That's pretty crazy. All right, a couple more things I want to hit on real quick. You may or may not be able to say this, but is there some moto maybe in your future when you have this more varied schedule? Or can you not say that yet? Because I would just assume, why would you not try this again after Unadilla had some promise?
Yeah, I mean, it all depends, really. It's not up to me at the end of the day. It's there's a lot of other factors that go into it. I know a lot of people want to see it, and I do too. I would love to do it, but it's yeah, it's kind of out of my hands, and this year for sure not. Maybe in 21, I don't know. We'll see if there's an opportunity to do it, then I'd love to. But after doing it with Roger and Ian on the factory team and the factory bike, like I can't see myself doing it any other way. Like trying to do it, I tried to do it on my own a couple of times way back when, and not nearly ready. I was literally on my off-road bike that I'd raced the weekend before, and the GNCC, and I was naive and thought I was going to be a good idea. Like I got off-road suspension. Oh, that's good. I ride fast on the local track. It's no big deal. Yeah. But no, once I got on good equipment and just the team in general, like it was a big game changer for me as far as riding and motoing, and it was a huge opportunity, and I took full advantage of it for the most part, and it was awesome. It's a memory I'll have for forever, and look back and I keep replaying it in my head and just wish I had a redo button.
Sure. For
a lot of things, but it's if it happens again, good. But if it doesn't, hey, I never thought I'd have the opportunity, or never thought I'd finish top 10 in a moto to begin with anyway. So I've already done it.
Okay, my last thing is, your dad was a racer, you're a racer. I keep seeing your kids on social media. Is there a chance there's a third generation Russell? Because your kids could twist some throttles, bro.
Yeah. No, there's a very high chance, I'd say.
Oh, here we go.
We'll see. I mean, man, it's expensive. I don't know if I want to go this route. But I bought them a KTM E50 because they're maintenance free, so I don't have to do any maintenance on it.
Okay.
Which it's nice, man. It's awesome. You just gotta chain and sprockets is basically all it takes. You don't have any gas, no air filter, no oil whatsoever, no clutches to deal with, none of that stuff. So it's pretty amazing, this little machine, compared to what I rode on. But he's a little small for it yet. But yeah, he's going to be a little racer for sure. I'd say he's got the bug, but it's we're no pressure on him. He hasn't ridden in like 2.5-3 weeks now, so. He gets on it when he wants to and takes off, and that's how it should be at that age, I guess. So.
Yeah, definitely. But there's not been, at any point, it wasn't a fad. Like, he's pretty much consistently liked this whole thing the whole time.
Oh yeah, he's consistently all the time got a motorcycle in his hand, or yelling or shouting somebody's name, or building jumps in the sand out here. Like, he was running around the shop on his scooter a little bit ago, just shouting out names that he was passing on the way by. So
I know the feeling.
It's funny. He's a blast. It's fun watching the races for him, because he knows he knows Cooper and Marv and Zach and Kenny and a lot of the guys too. So it's funny watching him watch the races and just listen to him talk about it. And even the GNCCs, man, he's on his iPad constantly just watching racing. So. He's something else for sure. It's really cool to see, and just watch him catch on to just little things in life that you don't really teach them. They just they pick it up and figure it out. Like they absorb everything. It's crazy.
Well, yeah, that's it. It's you have no control over it, really. And the same thing, I know your dad would say the same thing. Like, you just liked it. Like, he didn't make you like it. It's not a yeah. So there's nothing you can do about it. Sorry, you're in.
Yeah, that's exactly how he is. Like, he's got the bug. He likes it. He loves every aspect of it.
Yeah.
Always watching any form of racing that's on his iPad that he can find on YouTube. He's pretty much into. So.
I got the exact same story here. I'm hoping to maybe, if we could keep it on mountain bikes, that would also cut back on the cost and the travel and the danger a little bit too. So if you go to the mountain bike route, but whatever, it might be the dirt bike route. I mean, hey, we love it. I can't blame them.
Yeah, for sure. It's a good thing to be addicted to, I guess. There's a lot worse.
Were you ever like, oh man, no, or were you okay with it the whole time?
I didn't. At first, like, I didn't want him to be.
Yeah.
And but I'm okay with it now. It's I think that's why, like, well, I've got a little girl now. She's younger than him, but I'll be kind of done racing when she's at his age and stage in life where she's grasping a hold of everything, and understanding. So but I was like the same age as Crew when my dad was racing, and then Trevor, my brother, he's younger than me. Like, he never wanted anything to do with motorcycles, but because he was around it all the time, but my dad wasn't racing. So
I see.
I think it goes a long way, like having your parents so involved and like watching him, and I guess in that aspect, like they're just more in tune with it and want to do it in a way. Is how I feel about it. But because I can remember watching my dad and just being like, "Oh man, that's so cool!" Like, I'm watching my dad on TV. Like,
yeah,
I want to do that.
Yeah, and here you are.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess you got to get back to the grind. You got your own little baker's grind, a little bit, right?
Yeah. We've already. Yeah, it's 10:30 already. I'm past bedtime now. Man.
I ruined you. Well, that'll help your competition. There we go. Keep it interesting. All right, man. Well, thanks for hooking it up.
Yep. No worries. Thank you.
Boom. There it is. Kailub Russell. Many factors, nagging injuries. He's been doing this for a long time. But I don't think you can overstate that pressure thing. I have a new idea that I'm going to run on these podcasts from now on. And I should have done it with Kailub, and I should have done it with RJ Hampshire last week. I'm going to do this from now on. One of the most difficult things for an athlete is you only get to the point of success because you have an extreme level of ambition. I don't care if you're Tyler Bowers getting 15th over the weekend, or Cooper Webb, who won over the weekend, or Roxon or Tomac or whatever. Anyone who's at the professional level has an extreme amount of ambition. At one point, they've won some races at some level. They have high standards for themselves. So what happens is when you get that dream job, which means you're literally getting a paycheck to ride motorcycles, which is what all of us would love, and we expect them to be the happiest people on earth because they have this dream job, they don't always enjoy it as much as you think they would, because the idea that I'm getting paid to ride, that's not good enough for them. What they want to do is win. If they're just happy with the paycheck, they're not going to be motivated enough to actually try hard enough, work hard enough to win races. The winning or the success, whatever result goal they have, that's what makes them happy. So it becomes almost impossible to be happy week to week unless you're winning every single race you're in. And then when you get to that point, you become so paranoid that it's going to end that it's still hard to be happy. I call it the great peril of extreme ambition. It's really unfortunate that to be ambitious enough to succeed, it almost makes it impossible to be happy even when you've gotten that success. And I've seen it with Villopoto. He's the happiest guy on earth now that he no longer has to prove anything to anyone or to himself. And with Kailub here, I think the really interesting thing is now for the first time in his career, he has an actual goal, which is the goal is to win the GNCC championship this year. No more than that. The problem is in life, right? You can never be too rich or too thin. He has actually declared how rich or how thin he wants to be. He wants 8 titles, not 9, not 10. I think it's rare for an athlete to have a specific goal, get there, and then say, I did it. So I think he'll have a little less pressure on himself right now. It would probably sting to lose, but I think he's in a better place now where he can say, you know what, 7 was really good, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But I think just getting ahead of it, announcing it, having in his mind that this is the goal, I think is interesting and helpful. And hopefully by listening to this, whether you love GNCC or not, you learn how the mind of an athlete works. Because that's what I've always respected about these GNCC guys. I'm really close with the riders in that series. And what I like about it is it's no different. At their level, the mental game for them is exactly the same as the motocross and supercross riders. And a lot of times the off-road guys are a little more open. So you can get more information that also can be applied to other forms of motorsports. I think it's cool. Thanks for listening. Thanks to our sponsor, Yoshimura. Go to yoshimura-rd.com. That's how you get that RS12 exhaust system that you'll find with Brock Tickle's JGR Yoshimura Suzuki Factory Racing Machine this weekend, and it will be available for other brands soon. Go to racerxonline.com. Check out everything we have on the website. Hit /subscribe to get the magazine, both digitally and print, sent to you. We'll send you some free coffee if you sign up now while supplies last. I'm really pumped. So many good things going on. I'm going to the Feld HQ tomorrow on Thursday. It'll be a big press day on Friday. Great racing on Saturday. And I've already got a podcast for next week already queued up with a rider who we thought would be racing 250SX East, but is not. That'll be next week's podcast when he explains his situation. And that makes me realize I've already recorded an interview where I don't ask him about the peril of great ambition. So that'll start in 2 weeks when I start asking that question. That's the Racer X Exhaust Podcast, brought to you by Yoshimura. Thanks for listening.